Okay. Let's see. Alright, we're back.
Mm.
Turn the music down real quick. Go. Much more reasonable. Okay. Ah, man. What a day already. I don't know that I agree that it's 4:30 p.m., but, you know. Whatever.
Sure.
This, I believe, should be here. That.
Time is a social construct anyway.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to get that sticker redone, emote redone at some point. I'm looking forward to the new design being integrated into current and new emotes.
Sip, 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 sip.
Yeah, sure. I haven't gotten 100% go ahead on this as far as the artist being willing to do it. But before we get started, one of the things about the design, my next plan, my concept was to get emotes done next, 2 packs of emotes for each, about 8 of them, to kind of get a start with the new stuff. And my premise, my pitch to her basically was like, what if you made a whole cohesive art piece of a bunch of chibi Hestias, like, in a big, like, council meeting or whatever, and they all have different emotions, like personas and stuff. And then you crop those to make the emotes, you know? And I'm still getting 100% like go ahead to pursue that, but I'm looking forward to it.
Neon Genesis.
I actually don't know Neon Genesis that much.
Well, there's a trope that people or not people, but it's commonly seen in like manga and anime stuff, where they'll do like this council where they have all the similar looking ones, but they're just kind of changed a bit with like custom stuff and
yeah.
they're all
Okay, so
gathered around
yeah,
the table.
the one that introduced me to that idea was My Next Life as a Villainess, All Roots Lead to Doom, where she has her little council of chibi Katarinas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very welcome in. How's everybody doing today? How are we feeling about today so far? I know how I'm feeling, but
I'm good.
good. Sound eepy.
Maybe a little. I thought today was doctor's appointment, and then I realized it was tomorrow. Which is part of why my schedule got all screwed up and I forgot about this thing.
Gotcha. No worries.
I thought it was Monday on Sunday also.
Man, I almost had the same issue kind of with my week ended with Saturday. Saturday, man, I was so depleted, like truly exhausted to the meaning of the word. Nothing left, just disintegrated into bed.
Oh right, I think I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was nice.
You did
also,
say that.
Things were good. Yeah, I haven't streamed in like a while though, so I gotta kind of like get the stuff out.
I think when you reach that level of exhaustion, everything just becomes serene when you rest.
Yeah, it's like that moment where in Futurama where Fry drinks the coffee, like he drinks like 100 coffees in a row.
He hits the 100 mark, yeah.
Yeah, and he just everything like time stops. Yeah, it was like that for sure. Shroob, hello, welcome. Okay, so the ground itself, I actually have to bring that up real quick for reference. Might be important.
What?
Well, ground itself is here. Open with. Boom, there we go. Okay. So this is what we're playing. This is the thing. This is the reason we're all here today. I'm glad you're all here. This rock right here. No, but
Ooh.
Dearly and
Yeah.
beloved.
How you doing, Shroop? I love your Lethal Company emote. Love that. Incredible. So the premise of this game is, for those of you who don't know, I've already gone over this briefly with everybody, but just to kind of verbalize, for everyone to be on the same page, this game is not about the people at a location, it's about locations over time. It's how, like, you know, this introduction here says it maybe better than I probably could, but, you know, it's about the places and the way that we shape them and the way they shape us in turn. Like, what happens there? Why do they happen there? What's there that people don't think about? You know, there's a lot of these really nuanced questions that the game asks you to kind of ad-lib to a much more complicated way to create a location. And today we're going to be doing that for the premise of this kind of story framework that I have worked out that I'm trying to write. So I decided I didn't want to just write Forgotten Realms, but I want to write something adjacent that I've created myself that has more meaning to me and my storytelling, like ideas, you know, things that I want to pursue. And I want to create a world with friends and not just necessarily one party of friends, like, you know, just the three of you. But I don't expect you to, like, help me do it all the time unless, you know, you're welcome to do so if you want. But anyway, my point is that I'd like to have as many people you talk to and kind of help shape these kinds of things at different scales as possible. So that's kind of why we're here. We'll go into the gist of the story, but Baka, thank you for the sub. 29 months, that's insane. I know I always say that when you resub, but Jesus. It's really something. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that is also relevant to the story is that Rose and Dahlia Lockton are two characters out of a much bigger story, or a much bigger family tree, I should say. I'm going to open that here. Open. Try not open this in just like Google Chrome. Let me see. I'm going to be 1 second real quick. Let me echo. We'll just go to the actual tree itself. Fuck it. Here we go. In browser. Okay, so these are the Locked-ins, and I've created this family tree over quite some time. Years of role-playing now. Not everything is fleshed out, but we're centering over here under Ren specifically. Oh, that's too much. I don't like the zoom function on this fucking website sometimes. There we go. Yeah, so all of these people under Ren Locked-in are all one big family that I want to put into an estate in this village we're going to be creating today. That's kind of the premise of what we're doing, is to give them a home, not just to create the village, but to make the Locked-in estate and something to put it in context. So that includes the village, wherever the village is. We haven't decided, obviously, but also these just adjacent areas is where I want to kind of frame all of this. Like, not neighboring towns, but if there's like a really creepy forest or whatever next to it, or whatever, however you see the village and what's important to it, we're going to kind of explore all of that, as well as just the buildings and stuff. As far as Grand itself here, we need, this is the one thing I don't have on hand, I don't think. The other thing is that we all need an ability to play a card. I do wonder if we should just roll for them instead. Might have something. It'd be Okay. Multiplayer game. Oh, lit. Okay, cool. Yeah, here. I'm gonna post this in the ground itself. Chat. You guys are part of. This is a multiplayer link to a space where you can just play with a deck of cards. Freeform.
That's handy.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That's there. I have a dice simulator and another like tab. I actually can bring that up as well. This could be, what kind of dice was it again?
I think it was a D6.
I believe it was.
Sure was.
Okay. Our timeline is the real question. I know since we're kind of doing a custom game situation with this, it's going to be my decision. Instead of using the die for it specifically. Do we actually need the die for that? We're just gonna need to deliberate more of this. I should have deliberated more of this, I should say. But I'm thinking at least decades of time would be our timeline. Like, where was the village when the Locked-ins first arrived versus now, kind of thing. So we're gonna have not super significant era differences, but we'll go with decades and start with like the very beginning where Genevieve and Callum here in the family tree were actually the first two of the family, obviously, but I would say that they moved and began to create the Locked-in estate that Ren now oversees with Genevieve gone. And Ren and Eagle now oversee, with Ren as matriarch, the rest of the family entirely. We'll get into lore about them another time, but anyway. So decades, starting with the time of Genevieve, whatever that is, and we'll move on to however long. Each player is dealt cards from the face card stack in a circle. Okay, this is going to be the one part we gotta... Graham, did you get into the game, by the way? The multiplayer game?
I did.
Okay. Oh, I see. I had to zoom out. Gotcha. Gotta make stacks of face cards. Who else? Not the Joker. You can't like and tabletop simulator.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. Tabletop, you could just delete them or grab them as a pile and by selecting them.
What?
Can't recall if tabletop lets you remote play or not.
I don't know.
I'll have
That's
to look
okay.
into that after.
Time to get that stuff all done with this.
Wow.
My only concern
this
is
is
if
the
you
hard
try
way.
to hit the shuffle button, it's gonna throw everything together again.
Yeah, but I know none of us have photographic memories also. So I'm just gonna randomly deal everybody
Yeah, I do
everything.
not have the memory like a card shark.
Yeah.
I got a memory like a goldfish.
I have the memory equivalent of flash RAM. You just cut the power to it, it's gone.
Okay. Alright. So that was a little excruciating. To wait, I'm sure, but that's done. So
You made it.
each player is dealt cards from the face card stack in a circle until no cards are left. Then, going in the same circle, each player sets down one card at a time and answers a question associated with that card detailed below. They may read the questions first or pick between their cards at random. Keep going until the world feels established and before each player is out of cards, whichever happens first. Try to keep this discussion under 25 minutes. Keep your answers to each question very short. You may wish to make brief notes to jog your memory later. This is just establishing the location, answering the questions of like, what was this place in the past? How long ago was that? You know, what is this place? Etc. etc. A bunch of different questions. We're going to try to keep it brief. The other actual meat of everything is going to be after this. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to base cards, starting here. Here. Now, does everybody understand the one contingent part of all of this is that if anybody, you know, we're doing this collaboratively. I should reiterate this. How much that goes without saying. You know, it is the world that I'm going to be using, but even with that being the case, like we said, Gwen, before, like you had mentioned, things can be adapted from this to fit my like needs as needed. But we're just doing the really hard lifting together in this case, which means that if you're going to answer a question with a card, we're all going to talk about it. I'm going to give you my input, but if you drew the card to ask the question and we're all answering it, it's your final answer as you being the card owner, the one that played the card. So just keep that in mind. Don't feel like you need to acquiesce to my desire, input, or anything like that. If you have a disagreement, I'd much rather have the disagreement and us figure out a compromise for that, or some kind of whatever, or something, but don't just, you know, go to my whims, please. Don't. I'd much prefer the opposite, that you stick by what you agree to and just say, no, this is my answer. I'll write it down all the same. Because I think there's value, and that's why the collaboration is so valuable, I think. Okay, so with that being done, I'm not gonna care if you guys look at your cards. If you want to, absolutely fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and just play my first one randomly. See what we got here. So we've got Jack of Hearts. Jack of Hearts is either who lives here, what does an average person look like in this place, what do they look like, and what do they wear, or describe the flora and the fauna. What is the landscape like? What animals and plants call it home? And that's difficult to choose because I kind of know who already lives here. I think. I think I'm really curious to see what we can figure out about the second part. Describe the flora and the fauna. So we take this Jack of Hearts.
Hmm.
Oh, what? PFs go crazy. What the hell? Okay. Alright, flora, fauna. What do we think? As far as a fantasy situation, we kind of know the gist is very similar to what we have, but what would set it apart to be more exciting for a family like the Locked-ins? Which the premise is kind of like a more fantasy equivalent for this iteration of like Meet the Robinsons almost. Like all very skilled because they encourage each other to be individualistic and expressive of what they're good at, while also knowing how to collaborate in a collective way when things like need to be done.
So I'm thinking the flora and fauna are going to be different depending on the climate and the elevation.
Right.
So this stuff will probably influence what range of elevation and stuff that this area can be in.
I agree.
So in what latitude and that kind of thing, the climate. So I think probably the first thing to decide is like what are the predators? What are the main grazing animals?
Yeah, what does a hunter have to really contend with? Yeah.
What are the sizes of the animals? Are the scavengers coyotes, or are they vultures, or like that?
Yeah.
Are they more...
I'm personally a big fan of, as far as scavengers, my first thought is coyotes, like you mentioned. Coyotes I'm familiar with to some degree. I know what it's like to live around coyotes, being from small town Texas, and hearing farmers I went to school with being like, man, fuck coyotes. Kind of thing.
I say, I think anybody who's ever lived anywhere near coyotes agrees. Fuck coyotes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. They can get into
The only
anything.
worse than coyotes, a dingo.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there's some good things there, but if that sticks out to me at first, the coyote, we build from there. So I don't think I want to go. I don't know if I want to go straight coyote though. If we could compromise and make it some kind of fantastical creature, what would that be like?
Oh yeah.
What kind of coyote-esque creature could we if we had one scavenger to quickly go over? Because we're supposed to keep this brief. This isn't supposed to be super detailed. We're gonna do that later. But if we're taking the one example to build around later, and that's what grabbed me the most. What is
So,
something live that
something
can get through fences and cause problems?
So
Can
kind
I
of
raise
that's
a question?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm nothing. You have an established long, like, list family tree that looks pretty well established. It looks really nice. I was wondering, if they're in charge of this area, what would be the resource that they would be governing? Because this kind of thing would be, I think, like, that would be the thing that they would be put in charge of, right? When they're owning a type of land, usually they're put in charge of a particular resource.
Okay, so
actually, I think there's a card that brings that up.
Right, and not to turn it on you, but my question in turn would be, I'm not going to tell you because I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question specifically because that's what we're here to do. So I would rather hear your suggestions in that regard, because if you're thinking about that, then that's good. I want to know that. That's also part of the question that's being asked here. Is that what is the landscape like? What animals and plants call a home?
My process with that reasoning is because if you have that certain resource, there might be creatures, enemies, or whatever that would be preying on that or
Mhm.
preying on the people around it.
Mm,
But with
Well,
us
part
not
of
knowing what that
possibly
resource
the-
is, what would be most interesting
Yes,
for
part of-
you to put something there?
yes, part
I'm
of what
usually more
this
into
could be is
mineral stuff, so I think any kind of minerals would be the most common type thing that people would be put in charge of.
Okay, so a quarry nearby,
Mm.
something like that, maybe? Like some
Yeah.
kind of yeah, okay.
Something
Wait, what were we gonna say?
dependable and long-lasting resource would be like a mineral, usually.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about so if it's rocky, then the flora, the fauna would have, it would be. I mean, for hunters, the herding and grazing animals are our major resource. So part of the resources that they'll wind up being managing is animals that can survive on rocky terrain or rough terrain. So maybe it's not elk. Maybe there's herds of goat-like creatures that are able to traverse the terrain and that are steady-footed.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm-
thinking along
yeah.
the lines of that for predators, my first thought goes to either some kind of cat or bear creature, because coyotes and wolves don't tend to enjoy more rocky territories as much.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well-known ones would be cougars, pumas, and things that are more athletic.
Bears.
Puma.
Bears are very athletic, yes.
Puma-like.
Yeah. In terms of kind of compromising a little bit, I think what I'm seeing
What about
in my
Oh,
mind is I'm enjoying what you guys are saying. I like all those options, but I'm thinking if we're going with a specific resource that's around them, I don't want to zoom out too much, but I'm wondering if we can compromise where the village is somewhere between two things, or maybe even three things, depending on where it's centered exactly. Within a few miles this way, we're looking at a quarry, and there's a lot of mineral deposits, and they have a lot of industry in that regard. Another side might have a lake, not necessarily an ocean or a sea or whatever, but like a lake body of water of some kind that's worth fishing from and something like that, or something like that.
And,
Or then maybe even some forest area, or some wooded kind of area, but not like any of that is super dense
So you're
or
saying there
populated necessarily,
could
but
be-
kind of variety. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
you're saying there's probably big variety, a big change in elevation.
Yes, and so
Kind of reminds me of Northern California. There's a lot of mountainous and
Mhm.
beach and different not too
and
far
water, but it's still kind of
along
woody.
from each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for
That
our
makes sense.
live tricksy scavenger that can get in anywhere and causes problems.
Mhm.
A warm-blooded lizard-like creature.
One-blooded lizard.
Something like almost an
Interesting.
oversized gecko.
I think it would make sense that if there was a large mountain area where it was not as forested, then they would have a lot of ground to just kind of lay on.
You know what I was reminded of when you said that, Gwam, about it being a lizard that would get in and because I'm going by what you were saying. I was thinking this thing of a coyote. Okay, if it's live and kind of getting to places, foxes can be pretty tricky like that. But now you saying the lizard, I'm like, wait, is that a chupacabra? Is that is that where the chupacabra came from?
Chupacabra.
Live little lizard goat sucker monster.
Yeah, it was kind of like a mixture of a lot of. Nobody was sure what it was.
Yeah. I kind of like
Got to
that.
be
I
able
like
to
that
catch a
idea.
goat too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's when we talk about goats being around. If they're gonna have goats around, they're gonna domesticate them for sure and be part of the village. And by that, they're definitely gonna. Yeah, they're definitely gonna have problems with predators trying to get them if they're gonna be in a nice little cage.
I'm thinking maybe this thing has sort of graspy four paws, 4 hands, 4 limbs,
Okay.
or grass
Alright,
spruce.
if you're thinking of something like a predator that's large built and able to take down people and sneaky and agile, it would have to be very territorial and not a lot of them around. They have to be spread out. Usually, that type of behavior with those kinds of creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be a solo thing that would take on medium and small animals.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it would have graspy sort of hands that don't necessarily have, like,
You say something like that, and immediately think of raccoon paws.
they have holdy claws, not cutty claws.
Yeah.
Yes, they have holdy claws, not cutty claws. And maybe its tail isn't prehensile, but it is muscled where it will wrap around so it can wrap vertically. Like it can roll in a ball and hold in that ball shape to like jump on top of the back and curl over the back of a goat or something and
Sound like a scorpion
cling
almost.
on while it's bucking. Maybe the bottom of its tail would be kind of spiny, so it would like catch and dig into the fur of whatever animal it's wrapping around.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Now,
uses,
I'll to push
snake
you
things.
to describe this a little bit more in a way that gives it a magical quality. What would that magical trait be, do you think? Now, instead of apart from just something from our world.
Mild gravity magic, because it seems like its method of hunting is to just latch on and wait for the thing to get tired of trying to knock it off.
Oh, like
So
making it
basically,
heavier than it
making
is?
itself way heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That's really cool. We're gonna have to come back to those at some point. I'll note them. One like unique fauna here is I have to call it something just for a placeholder. You
And
coined
that's
most
maybe
of
how
it.
they get around to.
What would you refer to this thing as, Gwen? You looked at that thing and saw it. And you said, "Look, it's a like whatever."
Well, it latches on to things, and presumably with its gravity magic, it can leap up rock faces and stuff, or rocky hills, or if it falls, it'll make itself lighter, so it hits less hard when it impacts the ground.
Yeah.
So
you hit it, and you're like hitting a balloon all of a sudden.
See, I'm thinking of those little spurgy plants that have the little spiky seed pods that will like puncture your bike tires. They're called
Are you
goat
talking
heads.
about oh, no, I have a brain fart. Can't think of the name.
Yeah, they're called goat heads, the little spike balls.
Oh,
So
that game. I know the exact plant you're talking about.
something head, but maybe tail. So a goat tail.
Say gravity pause, gravity manipulation makes itself heavier or something like that. I do like to imagine a raccoon-esque creature. Almost like maybe a more functional lemur. I assume it'd like to hop around.
Yeah, I'm thinking of it moving around like a cat, but instead of being exceptionally balanced, it can stop itself from having to face the consequences of screwing up a jump or a fall.
Okay. based on how I'm seeing it in my mind, I'm gonna put lemur cat for now. As just a placeholder. We'll address that later.
Yes, even though it's a lizard.
Yeah.
But it's warm-blooded, so it's weird.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, people have named animals weirder things than that.
Well, let's say lemur cat lizard to make sure we keep that quality about it. The lizard being the anchor part of it.
I guess those things are called go-heads.
I think that does kind of accomplish what we were hoping to do as far as a variety
I'm thinking of the way my brain is picturing it as like a skink, but with longer limbs and a rougher skin.
Yeah, it seems like they can also like kind of stand up.
A lizard too.
Yeah, but it seems like they can kind of like stand up and grab stuff, and by the same nature, like grab stuff and hold it down or whatever. So, you see.
Yeah, being able to like stand up makes.
But they also
like
get really heavy, so maybe something like an anvil lizard.
Anvil lizard sounds. I was going for something like anchor. I thought that meant that was too much like water based. So I think anvil.
Ooh.
Anvil. I hate thinking about things sometimes when I'm trying to just generate random words because sometimes it makes me almost laugh. I hate laughing at my own jokes sometimes. Fauna. Anvil lizard. That sounds like some good fantasy stuff for sure. I like that.
For some reason, I was
Come back
thinking
to
of the word bounder.
Bounder, yeah. I do like Bounder.
Yes.
Keep that energy for sure.
Imagine having a lizard leap on your back and suddenly it's 300 pounds.
Yeah. And it binds you.
Animals and plants. Call it home. We went over that already. Landscape. We described it pretty briefly. We'll come back to this.
Bounder. Looks like a hunchback when it lands on you.
Yeah. I'm thinking that maybe its magic doesn't last very long, so it can make itself really heavy for a little bit, but it has to rely on its arms and its spikiness to continue holding on to the thing until it can be heavy again and wear it down more.
That sounds great. It sounds like it would be able to climb a tree, use its weight, land on somebody that would kind of knock them down.
Yeah, and also if its primary prey is goats, that would make sense because a goat, once it's knocked down, isn't going to get back up very easily.
I think there's this sort of thing. We're not going to have scrubland. There's going to be a big change in elevation. There's going to be trees in the mountains. I'm thinking sage-like landscape maybe, or low scrubby bushes. But maybe they're not like California. Maybe they're kind of red scrubby bushes.
Well, it depends on the elevation and the type of thing you're looking at.
Yeah, but in the areas that aren't
like
treed
in the mining,
or aren't
for gold
near
and
the
stuff, they did it
rivers.
into mountains and stuff.
Because there's going to be a huge variation between riverbanks and mountaintops or hilltops. But in just the midlands, that's what I'm thinking. That's what my brain is doing.
Yeah. Villages could be probably more centered around flat field lands rather than the hilly areas where more of the mining stuff happens. The noise and everything from mining probably keeps more of the.
You know, they'd range up into the mountains though, because they can leap around. I gotta use the restroom real quick. 1 second.
Okay.
have returned.
Welcome back.
Pretty much
Welcome back.
finalized. What I took from the answer to be landscape shaped by a variety of fauna, flora. One unique fauna we mentioned is amber lizard, which we'll come back to, and then there's also the variety of flora. Beautiful flowers in some places around the village, and then scrubby bushes, and like the mountainous kind of area. I don't know how big that actually is in my vision, but we'll come back to it and kind of address it as we answer more questions. As far as whose turn it is, looks like it is going to go around to the left on the screen. We go to Nyx, so I'm going to go ahead and play your first card, Nyx, your base card there.
Okay. Let's see what we got here.
I'm
How do I
imagining
put
these
this?
goats have scoop-like horns to try to pry the lizards off. That go backwards.
Jack of Spades.
Jack of spades.
Check. Spades. Let me look quick. What are the threats to this place? What are the threats to the material in the place of people who live in it?
Kind of an adjacent
What are
question.
the threat?
It seems like I came up with this one.
Mhm. The threats, huh? I'm thinking there's going to be a wide variety of threats.
Yes.
Sure.
Let me think. What are the
It's
threats?
going to be natural threats. Does the river
Natural
flood?
seems to be kind of covered.
Well, does the river flood? Is there stormy weather?
There's no
Good
river.
question.
There was lake.
Well, I said that,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I didn't
just-
really. When I actually wrote it, to be fair, I didn't actually specify. Not that I said this specifically, but I said small body of water. And body does imply a stagnant bit of water, but I'm not opposed to a river also. But that being said, what would be the answer
How
if it was a
big is the
river? And is
lake?
that something we could work with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of lakes are river lakes or spring lakes.
Yeah. It's also true. There might be a dam involved there somewhere.
But maybe the moon is particularly large, so the tides on the lake are particularly significant.
Yeah.
I don't know what the moon is like in this world.
Nyx, what are your thoughts? You think
Yeah,
that it's
stormy weather.
possible
Is it windy?
to work with that and maybe do even like, because if I'm thinking about the successful big cities and stuff like that in our world, one of the big like rules when
I
you're playing
was kind of
Civilization,
thinking
for
of something
instance,
else, so
is like
I was just gonna kind of wait and listen to see. I was thinking of something entirely different.
Gotcha. Okay. I ask because when I think about like playing Civilization, for instance, one of the first things to tell you is like find a river. That's going to be like the best thing to like settle
Right.
by. We're talking about like a huge
Yeah,
city
everything's on a
necessarily, but
river.
like we're
Right.
talking about
Yeah,
a
huge
decent
cities
sized
need
village.
something like a large body of water to be able to keep it survivable.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
everything's
was
on a
thinking-
river or a creek.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
I was thinking more like, since they're in charge of something like the materials that they're in charge of, there would be bandits possibly. They're between places of other important major cities. They
Bandits
might
is a good
have.
call because Bandits does relate to the framework that I have here. One of the problems mentioned in the world setting itself that I created was Red Tower Bandits. Thief is not really too big of a deal right now, but we'll get to that later. But this is already something
Pickpockets
that's
is
been
kind
built
of
on
a
a
thing
little bit.
depending on the security of a city.
Oh, in this case, I mean more specifically Robin Hood character, basically. That's going to be more integral to the story. So it's not really a threat, quote unquote. And also to address your other point, the one thing about the locked-ins, I kind of implied this, and you said it before, but I didn't correct you. they're not really in charge of the village. Ren is the matriarch of the family, and the family is a very big part of the village, but they don't want to lead it themselves. They're more like the family that helped build the foundation that people can rely on and stuff like that, but they didn't necessarily shape the village
Well,
as a
then-
whole. There's still going to be a mayor
All right.
above, like actually leading the village itself.
So they could be
Mm.
just part of, say, several, major families that are in charge of an area, maybe under a magistrate or a board
Yeah.
or something.
For sure, they definitely have a
Mm.
representative like who addresses or is part of the city council, more likely, for sure, absolutely. But they're not like running things necessarily, even if they have their hands and everything, because they are so integral to it and they have such diverse skills. So
Mhm.
like one locked in this case would be like the hunter or like the rancher. I originally wrote them as like a simple kind of big farm family that just really works hard
Mhm.
to really
Yeah.
make
And
things
I'm
happen.
I'm just filling it out too, 'cause I don't know all the different
Mm.
stuff, so that's kind of the thing. So they're picking up pieces and putting them, seeing that they fit.
Mm.
No, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to kind of clarify more now that you brought it up, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Are there big
Bandits is still a good point though.
Are there big landowners, or is it all under control of like a local lord or something?
Good question. I'm not sure. I'm not against either, but as far as
Because
that
there
being a
could
threat,
be a
that could be a potential
merchant
threat.
or a mining baron that might be a problem. Or
Okay, yeah. We'll say
that might be associated with or preyed upon by the bandits.
That would be a card for that.
1 second, real quick. Give me a little bit more nicks.
Are the businesses
Sorry.
mostly run by the local families, where there's a whole lot of resources that are being passed down through families that are under control of the local families, where maybe there's a local family that is stingy with its resources or with its land, or
Yeah, there's
mismanages it.
There's definitely got to be an antithesis to the locked-in ideals somewhere. I agree with that for sure. We'll just say rival, rival family for now. Whether that ends up staying a family or whatever, that's fine. But I agree that that could be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll kind of throw these as loose ideas.
Are the bandits mostly like individual, or might they be
These are organized.
gangs?
So the Red Tower Bandits, I'm just going to use from the framework. They are composed of abandoned war veterans, refugees, and other outcasts from the Greater Kingdom Society, things like that. So they actually have a leader, a strategist, and like a mage backing them as their leadership. They're like organized. So they are for sure a problem.
Do they operate like a gang, or are they like highwaymen?
I think, based on my understanding, is highwaymen. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so they're not like, they don't have like protection rackets.
Yeah, it's more like they're gonna like make the nobles and people regret it as they make their way through different locations.
So they have an ideal. They're a problem, but they have an ideal.
Right. A lot of the focus of the story I'm looking to tell with this framework specifically, just for a little more context for us to kind of feel around in. A lot of the big concept is Rose and Dahlia going around helping people, saving different people from different things, or like fighting this and that. The big question we're looking to answer is, can evil ever really be redeemed? I have my own answer, but we're gonna like have a whole journey of exploring that in that story. And so that's kind of a little more context for that. I don't want to answer too many questions about that though. Go ahead.
Okay. No, after I'll say mine after.
No, go ahead. I'm basically done.
Oh, I wanted to also introduce something about the resources, since also a section about threats to the materiality of the place. I was thinking that maybe one of the resources in the minerals be a type of crystal, and perhaps that uh, them getting exposed to elements, say rain, that type of thing, makes it more decomposed quickly,
You call that
and probably making it more,
deterioration?
yeah, probably making it more valuable as a finite resource,
Hmm.
Mm.
like an energy source or something.
Nature. I want to leave those three as the big answers, I think, to kind of make it loose. 'Cause we're, not that I'm complaining for more detail, but we just need to establish location and answer a lot of the more detailed stuff later on. So I think we should, go to the next turn. Are you satisfied with that though, Nix, with your... okay, before your question, quick Glam, Nix, do you want to sign off on these three things? Did you have anything you wanted to add particularly? Is there a point of contention? Anything for your final answer on what are the threats of this place? Does this look good to you?
There was a mention of like the moon and like maybe affecting high tide and stuff like that. I like
Okay.
that kind of concept. I was thinking maybe it also makes creatures also kind of more wily and or violent.
Okay. Specifically, I don't know if I want to say that the moon is big specifically. I think it's good to work with. We'll say abnormal for now, in case there's something.
I just want to say
different we can
that a possibility.
Yeah, no, I'm saying abnormal as a compromise just to specify, because I want to get more into your idea about that later on.
Okay. Just that might be kind of fun.
Tide interaction.
Yeah, it could have like a small moon when the bad moon is closer to the planet.
It might not affect everything. It might only affect certain things too.
I like the concept of the bad moon.
Where they're
This is
their
the moon we
orbit,
like, and that's
like
the
an
little
elliptical
bad moon.
orbit. Yeah, when it gets closer to the planet, things are just like karma is just worse.
Like, the moon's red. That's not good.
Say, all I can think about is the two moons from Warhammer Fantasy, where one is, oh hey, it's really nice when that's out, and the other is, oh god, why is everything mutating?
I'm also thinking, is there a local apex type predator, like not necessarily a dragon or a griffin, but something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking something like that in regards to resources and stuff being mentioned. Not just the Rattle family being involved, but a specific Lorax adjacent thing, maybe even.
Yeah, griffins would be cool on the type of bear and type of mountainside.
It's true. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm thinking the mineral, the quarries, or the mines. Maybe there are large geodes that they crack into, but sometimes the geodes have like weird creatures in them.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
They're like sort of
like
maybe
silverfish from
eldritch
Minecraft
type eggs. They're not quite eggs, but they're used as eggs, where like the geodes like maybe concentrate magic inside them, and so and so sometimes a magical creature will just like spontaneously manifest inside of one.
I like the idea of a golem just suddenly spawning up from just rocks just disassembled around. That'd be just hilarious to me, but I'm kind of a chaotic person.
Golem gotcha,
going,
fake geodes.
shiny, and then just suddenly golem pops up. It's like, you're getting greed censored.
Yeah, where you're not totally sure what might pop out of them, because it's just like however the magic coagulated inside.
Interesting.
That tickles my
Sometimes
like
they'll
chaos.
be a mutant sort of creature. Sometimes it'll be something that's like, oh, these exist and have a population. Sometimes it'll be something that's totally unique or like made of magic. A spirit, maybe.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
With there
that.
being a lot of industry in the village, I'm wondering if there's like interaction with a proper, not even an animal, but like a proper like mythical creature, like maybe a nymph, like a wood nymph, something like that, like a dryad.
Hmm.
Hmm. Come back to that
Hmm.
though. Nix, what were you gonna say?
Hmm?
You said you had something else also. I thought maybe.
No,
Did I hear you wrong?
no. I
Okay.
was just saying it was tickling my chaos. Uh, like ability. I like a lot of things that kind of chaotic,
Hmm.
but not like too destructive.
Hmm. I'm I'm imagining those geodes, if they haven't like metastasized into a creature, they're being mined as like batteries.
Hmm. Whoa.
They're containing magic.
Magical battery potential to explore here. Well, I definitely want to get back to that and expand on that later. Absolutely. I think we good. Nix, you got this. This is a good answer for you. Enough detail and like things you agree with.
Yeah, I like a lot of those.
Great. Thumbs up. Cool. Moving to next turn. Squam. Go for it. It's your card.
Mm. 1 second, I gotta get to the tab. What? Is it Queen of Diamonds? Or a Queen of Clubs?
Queen of Clubs. Hell yeah. Cool. So Queen of Clubs. What was the
What was
greatest
the
moment?
greatest moment in
Go
this
ahead.
place's history? An innovation, a discovery, a revolution, a new sapling? An emergence of a cycle of cicadas?
What do you think?
I mean, just having established those batteries, that could be cool. But also maybe, like, the creatures that could come out of them might be dangerous, but they could also be, like, familiars. So maybe, like, a king's familiar was found in a geode that was local to that place.
See what you mean? Something that could be dangerous, but also could be very beneficial if properly handled.
Hmm.
So you're saying that like it became a great moment because the king discovered they could have one of these things that's familiar, and that's like where they became popularized, and the village kind of got put on the map, kind of thing.
Yeah, where it's like, did you know the king's pet XYZ that helped siege the keep of blah 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 was born and found in this village?
I like that idea.
The king's familiar. Hmm.
Say ruler, just for the sake of not open-ended.
Hmm.
But rulers familiar
Hmm.
found here
Hmm.
of the magical geode animal. Okay.
If we're assuming the local industry is part of what draws people to this place, I mean, I don't want to like maybe necessarily make that the biggest, most vibrant industry. Maybe there is something that's maybe less popular, but is or less or more niche, but still important. Like, I don't know, a ruin by the lakeside that is important to mages or something.
Maybe can I take a crack at like describing the creature and see if you like it?
What?
Talking about the geode creature.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not
if you'd
against
like.
that, but if while you're thinking about it, take a note and write it down, and DM it to me, and then
Okay.
I'll copy paste it so that you can address Graham's question while you do that.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll just send it to you, DM.
Thank you, and then I'll paste it in here as kind of a side note.
Mhm.
Explore later.
Because it needs to. I feel like this place needs to have
Two different things to suit the variety.
something. Yeah, something that's maybe not just two different things to survive, but it needs to have something that's its mainstay, but also something that's a draw for big players to be part of the narrative.
Yeah, like what really sets them apart as just not another village, but like it's kind of the grand planned nature of the Lockdowns in ways. The ruler's familiar
Maybe there's a
idea
local
is
myth.
good, and I want to keep that. Right, go ahead.
I don't know, maybe there's a local myth that draws treasure hunters or draws scholars. Or not like a local myth, but like an ancient myth that relates to that area. Or perhaps there's an old city or an ancient city that's been narrowed down to be in this area. Or perhaps like some calamity died in that place in the ancient past, and so there's like people think that there's like magical regents or a corpse of some kind that will be important.
Interesting. What's your pick from all of those options?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any preferences or thoughts on those.
I'm curious to hear what Baka says. If you have any thoughts about it, Baka, because
I'll be
know
honest,
you
most
like
of my
myths.
ideas have already been thrown out.
Yeah, but I know you
No.
like
There's
a lot of the
myths
stuff
and mythology and stuff like that. If you were to go with that option, what would you say? Because that's kind of what stood out to me was maybe a myth of some kind that would draw people and set them apart.
Well, generally speaking, with myths, you'd end up with one of two things: either a myth of a treasure or a myth of a monster. Sometimes both, where the monster will have the treasure. That would draw people in and get them to basically explore the area around. Whether or not it's true or not doesn't matter. Even on the off chance that there's some amazing treasure or some ancient beast to slay, you're going to get some idiot who wants to try their hand at it.
Yeah. No, I think that's what stuck out to me the most was myths, and I think you just kind of showcased why I agree. That instead of just a story, it's like something that really drives people to try their luck on different accounts. Because I think the Legend of the Treasure has to come with the danger to suit it as well, like the monster guarding the treasure. I think both can kind of interplay.
Like, one of the thoughts that springs to my mind is a caravan that went missing. All they found were tattered remains and weird footprints that nobody could identify. That would lead to that kind of like almost urban legend status of there's something out there. It definitely took everything of value. We don't know what the hell it is, though.
I'm thinking, because the two characters that I saw in the main, your other document, one was a cleric and one was a paladin.
Correct.
Maybe part of this myth has some religious significance.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm good with it. Because I do want to have kind of a pantheon of some kind. I'm not sure to what extent or what it's going to look like exactly. I'm not ready for that yet. But I do know the one that I want is going to be Ilmater adjacent. And Ilmater is the god from D&D, Forgotten Realms. I don't want to copy him, obviously, but I can't let the premise go of what basically is Christianity, but way better. The Christian ideal avatar, like that person, Ilmater, exists. You can see Ilmater and talk to him, and like you can see what he says, and like people listen to him. They don't just take and do what with his words what they please, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Not to get into religious talk or whatever necessarily, but like Ilmater. My point is that I want something adjacent to that where people can relate to it in a way that's relatable to our own world and our experience with that kind of religion, but done in a much better, more like way to suit my own ideals, selfishly, obviously.
Yeah, that sort of almost messianic, self-sacrificing figure that is actually still around and you can ask questions of.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, like one of the stories I really liked from Ilmater was this one, and this is just kind of the premise of who Rose is kind of like. Like Rose is kind of like this, the paladin. He took the cur of Gehenna, this most defiled creature of murder, and held it in his immutable embrace. In his most perfect knowing, he walked with it into the sea of fallen stars. The cur clawed and screamed and ripped and tore, but he brooked no quarter. And when the sea ran red with the blood of the divine, the wailing and gnashing ceased. Like, that goes so fucking hard, man. Imagine. I love Ilmater for this. This is like one of the most beautiful moments, I think, of his whole mythology. Not including, all the other crazy shit that he's done. But anyway, tangent aside, that's the religion I know that I want to have some remnant of, some kind of idea of represented here.
So maybe that's where a drop of his blood was thought to have spilled from the heavens.
Maybe that created something of some kind. Like the blood of the Gorgon and the water creating the Pegasus kind of thing. If I remember that correctly.
Plenty of myths of monsters spawned by divine blood.
Yeah.
Yep, it was Medusa's blood hitting the sea foam that created Pegasus.
Yes. I mean, if you really want to extend this to your metaphor and to your overarching theme and be really blatant about it, some creature that is spawned of divine blood that is monstrous and evil, but is considered a son by this, or a child by this holy good deity.
It might not even be truly evil. It might just be it's horrendous looking and has been treated like absolute shit.
It could be malevolent where it chooses to be when it's evil and when it's not. Depending on...
it could just be wild.
Allow me to introduce something else possible here, and that we could kind of tie this back to the idea I said about the Lorax, the creature guarding the treasure, the creature guarding the minerals and stuff like that. Not necessarily a Lorax, but if we're going to go by the blood of the divine, I think it might be more beneficial to consider that they believe that this creature is born this way because it does the protection, does the self-sacrifice suffering to protect the resources, the different people or the different treasures and other minerals and other creatures and stuff around it. Like, it's like the guardian, but it's also not beautiful to behold. It's like I said, it's a horrible, ugly monster, so people consider it to be like difficult to reconcile that its appearance and like the way it handles that task with its origin.
Much like the gargoyles.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's a good example. the myth of divine blood spilled here, creating the Guardian, which name pending, which protects nature. Resources.
So it could be.
I know
It could be
something that
guarding.
Usually, because usually guards an area that's usually abhorred by everyone.
So it could be guarding the land itself, or it could be guarding the things born of the land. So maybe those gotcha geodes. Maybe the familiar that was taken by the ruler was something stolen from this creature that was trying to protect it.
Or it could also see them as family members because it was born of the ground. So, in its mind, these are my family. What are you doing? Which might also explain why it's kind of a gotcha, because depending on how much of the blood infused geode would decide how much quality pops out of it. Just spitballing here.
Yeah, no, I like that. Okay, so
Yeah, maybe these things are underneath the site of an ancient battle, and the blood seeps into it, and because the blood of the divine seeped into it and spawned this creature, now even the blood of mortals is spawning creatures from it.
Whoa.
Now I'm just imagining someone purposely bleeding on one of these geodes to see what happens.
Blood magic is forbidden.
And when has that ever stopped anyone?
So true, Bestie.
Dancing is forbidden.
Okay, so Guam, are you satisfied with this answer? Ruler's familiar found here, one of the magical geode animals, gotcha geodes. Let's put it on the map and kind of spark the industry involved with them. The battery situation we explained, and then the myth we just described, the one we agreed was myth of divine blood. Spill here for whatever reason, creating the Guardian, which protects nature, including the water, trees, the resources, and animals, including the gotcha geodes and stuff like that, and allegedly great wealth to kind of correlate that to Baka's input of the treasure also being a big pull for other types of people pursuing those things.
Sounds lovely.
Great. With that thumbs up, we move to Baka. Your turn to play your card. It's King of Spades. Cool.
King of Spades? What is the King of Spades?
It's an optional one, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Are there multiple groups of people? Or what do the plants, animals, and people vie over?
Oh, you know what, Nix, I don't know why I didn't think about this. You DM'd me, and I was like, wait, this could be better suited for us to just see in the ground itself. So go ahead and copy paste that into the text channel we're using for all of this. So everyone can see what you said. So we can kind of table it and go back to it.
This being, this familiar.
This one here?
Yeah, the one you just sent me.
Here? Or did I put it in the wrong spot?
Nope, that's correct. So I just wanted you to put that there so we could see it.
That's a cool idea. That's a really cool idea.
It just kind of came to me. I thought it might be kind of neat.
Yeah, that reminds me of a fucking, what's it called? What was his name? Akarat? That Kay had?
Yeah,
in our
Akarat.
campaign?
Yeah. The shape-shifting weapon.
Venom, but it gives you mercury poisoning.
Well, the
And
symbiotic
because your
relationship
enemy's
thing.
mercury poisoning.
Yeah, the symbiotic relationship, Akarat, for context for you guys that don't know, was this like divine sentient weapon that was created to suit this war god who could use it and wield it in any way that he saw fit because he could be in whatever weapon you wanted.
Yeah.
And so
I was gonna put
he got
some
a hold
more
of it
descriptive
as
stuff in
changeling.
it, but I was like,
Yeah. It was kind of evil, but also you could influence it and like over time kind of equilibrium together. So the fact that you hit that also makes me think that's worth keeping here for sure. I think a king of some kind or some kind of ruler having something like that would make them be worth being a ruler for sure. That's like something to set them apart.
yeah, I was gonna put some more descriptive stuff in it, but I was like, probably like leave that open to
Yeah,
interpretation.
for sure. That's
So I wanted
I
to
wanna-
put non-Newtonian properties being able to do too, but I was like, no, that might be too much.
Yeah, no, this is a good raw piece of ore we'll later refine into something much better, but that's great input. Like Baka said, thank you. That's great. So if you have any other notes that I'm not writing down here, your things you want to have noted specifically, you can use that channel for that, and that goes for everybody. But yeah, Baka, to your question, sorry, go ahead. What was your
how
what
it's
was the one?
sounding about how this area is set up?
Mhm.
I'm thinking there'd probably be a couple different groups of people very interested in exploiting it.
Mhm.
So there's probably, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 different groups that would be all arguing over whose territory it actually is.
Hmm.
Mm.
So
Like,
you want to go with
one
the
would
first
likely
part of
be
the
a-
question here?
Yep.
Okay.
Like, from what I'm thinking, probably one of them would be a religious group based around the god whose blood was supposed to be spilled here, going, this is
Mhm.
holy ground, guys. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
So the
like
church.
they're like saying, no, this is supposed to be holy ground. This should be under our rule under our country.
Mm.
Yeah, and people shouldn't be just digging stuff randomly out of the ground to see what happens.
I think maybe there could be multiple of those. There could be a group of fanatics that are like that,
Yeah,
and there's
I'm just saying, like,
a
in
different
general.
group that says,
Yeah.
our god allowed his blood to be spilled here.
Yeah, to benefit everybody.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're gonna be that kind of trope.
So for
It-
summarizing that one point really quick, I'm just gonna say church, which is then further divided. We will get into that later at some point. And what was your other one? Sorry, your next one, Baka. If you had another
Sorry to go by my
group to go with.
sandwich.
I'm good.
It was sandwich. I think sandwich.
What kind of sandwich is it? That's a better question.
Italian sub
Hell yeah. Amen.
with everything but hot peppers on it.
The Italian sub faction.
Hey, I would fight that faction.
Yeah, the Catholic equivalent to the god we're talking about, of the
Mhm.
Italians. No, that's pretty funny actually. I like that.
But you probably also have a lot of people who just basically squat on land to try to dig stuff up on their own. They probably wouldn't last very long though, because this area doesn't exactly seem to be hospitable to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Probably one of the lizards would end up eating them.
I'd imagine those kind of people would probably try to sneak in at night and then end up disappearing.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
Lizard,
digging deep.
divine
Some people-
intervention.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are digging deep, but the consequence isn't like a Balrog.
wanna
The
say there might
consequence is
be-
that they're contaminating the groundwater.
Mm.
I don't know, so there might be even
People's wells are getting dirty.
spies from like a mercantile state where it's a union of different merchants, maybe country.
Yeah, different like mining guilds.
Oh,
Yeah.
guilds, traders, that kind of thing, like a country more centered around like capitalism.
Okay. All right. I'll
A group
just
that looks at it from a more economic lens.
yeah.
Right.
They want to exploit, to put it lightly. Now, before
Then when
I
I get
move to
there,
that,
it's
note
high.
that though, Baka, the people you mentioned, the squatters, people, it makes me think of like almost like Gold Rush, like kind of theme, like
That's what I was thinking of.
you
Once
know, kind of like
this gets
prospector
known,
surveyors.
people be showing up at like random places and be like, okay, let's dig a hole here and see what happens. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they release a fucking Eldritch Abomination. Who knows?
All right, cool. Surveyors.
And then, of course, you'd have the original
prospectors.
settlers who just kind of want most of these people to go the fuck away. Get off my damn log, squatters!
Okay, and then we'll just say capitalists. We all know what we mean by that. And then if we had a fourth one, I think you said a fourth. I want to kind of push for a fourth. What could it be? We have the rival family already. They're not really. I don't think. I don't know if they're big enough for that though. I don't know if it's going to be locked into against the village or if the rival family is going to be against the whole city or whatever. I don't know.
Well, the fun thing is, the rival family might have connections with multiple groups.
I was gonna say
Also true.
they might be trying to usurp things and manage to make a deal with another more powerful country to try to get nobility or something.
Maybe nobles is good because it doesn't really. I know the other things really imply nobles specifically. Also, Freakus, hello, yes, thank you. This is my new design that was released last week now. I love it.
It's cute as hell.
Thank you. I really like it. It's great. It was like my first really started getting into this kind of area of the design, like redesigning it. Was like, man, this is like getting a haircut you didn't know you really wanted. Like really needed to kind of hit a new era. That's what it feels like. It's really nice. The artist did a great job too.
You went into your glow up phase.
Yeah, I also wanted to kind of really focus on the design hitting that deadpan kind of like unimpressed expression she has. I feel like that is very important to me.
The resting deadpan of just, I'm so done.
Yeah.
I'm so done with all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see noble families trying to jockey in. God, that'd be a political nightmare.
Yeah, for sure. We've already been at it for about an hour and a half. Let's take a quick break, and re-adjourn or adjourn and come back in like 5 minutes. If you need 10, that's also fine.
I could use some more water and potty break.
Yeah, exactly. So, be back in a few minutes.
Give me a chance to eat my sandwich.
back? I know Guam is not present currently. They are eating real quick.
I'm back.
You're back? Okay,
Oh,
Baka,
yeah.
you back? Cool. Alright. Since Guam just took their turn, I already mentioned to them they're gonna go eat real quick, like I said. And
Okay.
we're gonna go ahead as planned. Till they get back, probably, 20, 30 minutes from now. My turn next. They might take an extra turn to make it up, depending on how far we get. We have King of Diamonds, though. Diamonds. Who or
No,
what is in
I'm gonna be
power
here the
here?
whole time.
Cool. I don't know how long we're gonna be. While we're on the topic, sorry. I don't know how long we're gonna be because Graham asked, and I was like, based on how long we're taking, with it being a 4-player situation, it is taking longer than I originally thought it might. But I'm not against that. If you do have other things you need to go do, you need to tap out or whatever. Baka, for instance, if you need to wake up for work early tomorrow or whatever, you have to dip at some point. Don't feel like you gotta stay up or whatever. Or commit too much. But yeah. King of Diamonds, who or what is in power here? Is it a ruler, an apex predator, a series of laws that govern society, the weather, etc.? I think we already touched on this a little bit. With the village, it depends on the hierarchy beyond and the government, the kingdom that we're in. I'm assuming we're using some kind of fantasy situation where there are barons and or medieval style kind of situation where there's there's barons, there's mayors, council people in the village itself. There's kings and lords and all kinds of different titles like that. What would that put for a village, the main source of industry and stuff like that? As one of the holdings of a greater lord. Are we talking about the ruler of just the village? I assume, right? Not the region.
If we're
I'd
talking
assume just
about
the village for the moment.
Yeah.
if we're talking about the area and it's managing a resource that big and it has to be shipped out or produced there and managed somehow, I'd imagine it'd probably be something like a dukedom and have to be a moderate size or a large size.
Yeah, it's like part of a greater dukedom, but it probably itself is run by a local council with maybe like a night house or something nearby that they can call on for help.
Right. It doesn't have to be directly managed by one, but yeah, in the territory.
Okay. So we'll say someone appointed by nobility who rules the region. They would install, but I guess it would be not a mayor.
The reason
They
I think
installed.
so is because if you think about it, if the king's the one that's benefiting or benefited the most from it, he wouldn't want somebody directly under them that he would associate with on a more
Well,
regular basis to be able to contact and see what's going on to report.
With the nobility system, it usually goes to the king, the dukes, the barons, the baronets, and the knights.
Right.
Just
then counts and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yep. So more than likely, this would be a single territory within one of the major dukes' territories, who answers directly to the king.
Right.
But the area itself is probably run mostly by locals because, let's be honest here, it takes a while for news to travel.
Yeah, and people don't want to have to be there all constantly watching over it.
Yep. Which is why I said there's probably a night house somewhere relatively close by that they can go, hey, we're being attacked. Come help us. Or even just a military post or something that they can go, hey, we're under attack. Come help us.
Appointed mayor selected by nobility. Okay. I think I'm good to leave that there for now, unless anybody has specific things they want to add to that.
No, nothing. I just kind of thought that it would be fitting to the way it is.
Okay. That being said, Nyx, is your turn again.
Okay. Let me see what I get.
Proper timing.
Queen of Spades. What was the greatest tragedy in this place's past, and how is it remembered? Mm,
I mean, there's a few things that spring to mind for possible tragedies in a
Oh.
mining town.
I got
For
an idea.
sure. Sakura, hello.
The way
Welcome.
this
How's
place,
it going? Go ahead,
I have
sir.
an idea. The way this place might have been discovered is perhaps there was a giant crystal that was out of the ground and it would just exploded from a lightning bolt, and that's brought people's attention to it to investigate. And perhaps it taken out maybe a local village and several acres of land in fire.
Okay, so you're thinking like a lightning,
Yeah, freak accident that caused a natural
freak
disaster.
lightning strike, started a fire, kind of got out of hand like a great fire. Okay. That would be
And it
something that
revealed
could
the
be
resource.
really contingent to the Locktons becoming more famous in the town and their efforts of like helping to rebuild after that.
Mhm.
So I think that's really something
I'm just thinking
important.
of something that would spark a focal point.
Hmm.
That would make sense.
Big fire started by lightning strike. You said it struck what? What was your initial
A large
thing?
crystal that was just happened to be poking out of the ground.
Okay, like a magical crystal then you're kind of
Mhm.
implying? Okay.
Yeah.
And if it destroyed the crystal, it might have left a trail that they could actually form into a new mine,
Hmm.
which may have been how they got started on the whole mining business.
That's I was thinking it revealed the resource in the first. So a tragedy that could be flipped either way, but it would be quite notable.
And people might not even be aware that that's what caused that thing to become exposed.
Yeah, nobody might not actually realize what had caused that in the first place. They could have thought that just the ire of the gods. That's funny, he ended up with the Jack and the Queen. With the same suit.
Okay, so
Oh.
a big fire started by a lightning strike hitting a magical crystal resulted in great destruction of the village, which the Locktons had a big hand in rebuilding. This also revealed a way to get more of the deposit and also increase the power and therefore value of the crystals mined there. What do you
'Cause
think?
let's be honest. People are going to go, oh, it makes a big boom if you do this? Let's figure out how to use that.
Yeah.
Oh
What the
god, they
hell
made
is this
magical
thing?
dynamite.
Yeah, they might have not even known what it was in the first place. They just figure it out. Oh, what the hell is this thing? It blew up? The heck?
Yeah. Hell yeah. I like that a lot. Okay, Gwen's gonna have to take the rest of whatever turn they missed at that point. So with that question being answered, we're squipping from Gwam over to Baka again. What's your next card?
Yeah, I got all the kings apparently.
There's still one left, yeah. You might have gotten the other one.
King of Hearts. Oh, does it have? Oh, we have gone over this already, kind of.
Yeah, we can kind of copy paste, but
Stories
we
are told
can
in
take this
or about this
opportunity.
place.
Yeah.
There could be much more than just the few.
Yeah, exactly.
Legends and myths.
Sorry,
Legends
it's
and myths. Let's think here. Honestly, I could see a few legends and like folk tales almost coming out of this area, just in general, of people being like, yeah, the people from there are kind of just weird and way more competent than they should be,
And
just
you have
because
to
of
remember
how.
too. You have to remember too is
Go on.
that we're character building the creatures and stuff. People might not even know they exist at all, or maybe they've only seen glimpses of it, and to them they're
Yeah,
just like mythological things.
from from what I'm thinking, because of the way one of the main like scavenger predators has been described, a lot of the animals here are probably not exactly normal.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like a lot of them probably have little tricks that they can pull off.
Yeah.
Like one that just keeps randomly popping into my head is basically a jackalope that can multiply itself to get away from things. Most of them
That's
aren't
dope.
real,
Yeah.
That's
And
dope.
then
Write
they
that
end up
down.
but
sounding
when you
like
said it, it just
they end up sounding like a person ranting or drunk.
Jackalope that
I'm writing
can
that down.
multiply. Yeah. Thank you. That was fire what you said right there. I like that. We're using that later for sure. Jackalope can multiply. Setting that aside, um, stories, the myths and stuff. Yeah, I like where our heads are at.
Like I could see one of the local myths being if you feed your animals certain things from certain areas, it'll give them powers, even if it's kind of true, kind of not true, depending on what you feed them.
Hi,
I got
Frosty.
a myth to add.
Okay.
If you put the head of a flower on whatever body of water that they have that's supposed to be there on the full moon, it would summon a type of fae, and it could be any kind of the random fae that would show up. It could be something like a
Something like a
fairy
naiad or
or
a
a sprite,
nixie.
or it could even be something like malevolent. Even it could be something like what
Like
is
a
it called?
kelpie.
Kelpie that'll just pull you under.
Thank you, Frosty. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well.
So
Okay,
while there
yeah.
Or
might
if
be
you're
the
really
good
unlucky, a
stories,
neclavy.
might be good stories, but maybe the bad stories aren't really too often because they don't come back.
Yeah, I'm liking the
Just had a
idea
thought.
that because of these interactions with, the kind of perfect, like, placement of the village itself between these three different kind of big landmark kind of things, and the nature of how the lightning, struck Crystal and, like, all these kinds of weird things happen, it seems like. I'm
Kind of
liking the
make it a
idea of it
cross
being
planes.
right, and that's what I'm getting at. But more specifically, that uniqueness and that lightning striking being kind of a symbol for that is setting it apart, even from the other magical aspects of the world, as being particularly abnormal, even for the magical qualities that they're used to.
Yeah, it's something that's just kind of like, that's just odd.
Yeah,
It's not
like
So
yeah.
insane, it's
everything's
just
kind of
weird.
gravitating here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I
An
could see them
origin
having
or
myths about
culmination.
like some of the goat horns having weird effects if you eat them. Kind of like how people still to this day, for some reason, think freaking rhino horns will give you. Well, we won't go into that. That's not Twitch appropriate.
Yeah.
Uh, What would be a friendly word for that?
Great masculinity, to quote Robin Williams. But I could also see those horns actually having medicinal uses. This actual goat horn has some medicinal uses if you grind it up. But that's neither here nor there.
Goat horns here have medicinal uses. Is this real, chat? Is that true? I don't know, but
not that I've heard.
I think that'd be a good point of
Goat horn
contention just to add.
shavings.
Like one of the things that is fought over, like people that believe in the remedies of the goat horns, as
Oh.
opposed
Does it
to people that
actually
are like,
work, or is
no,
it
that's
just
fake.
a panacea?
Yeah.
What do they call it? Old wives' tales.
Yeah. Homeopathic like medicine kind of stuff. Also, Frosty, I'm glad to hear that nachos sound dope. You haven't eaten all day. I'm glad you're getting food finally. And you're off work and stuff. I have to message you something.
It's like every fox I know never eats food.
Even though
to
I love
God,
it so much.
you-
It's so
I-
funny
I
because
eat
like I know it's not like a unanimous thing because sometimes I have days where I will just eat nonstop, but there are days where I just get distracted and forget or get too busy doing other stuff. I just don't. But then you ask me what kind of favorite kind of food is, I can monologue for hours, dude.
I like making food.
Do you actually eat the food?
Yes, I do.
You're
Good.
doing better than most of us.
You do better than 98% of the streamers I know.
Yeah, I understand. I talk to a lot of other streamer friends that like, I hear that they haven't eaten all day. It's like, go eat something. Freaking make snacks. Something. Have a taco.
Tacos.
I was like, you're worried about making sound, eat a burrito. You can eat it with one hand.
With that being said, are we good with where we're at with that question being answered? You can sign off on that.
Yep.
You have anything else you want to add? More stories? I mean, I think these can be multiplied indefinitely.
Say-
You know, we can just make stories
Yeah.
nonstop. They're these four like good proponents
It-
for like the kinds of stories.
If you give me enough time, I'm sure I can think of more. And don't
That's
be
my
surprised
point.
if over the week I'm just like, oh, hey, here's another
Yeah.
random idea.
Yeah, and to that end, I'm not gonna take away people's access when they start world building, and get involved in some way. Even if you end up not being able to play any more sessions of the grounded stuff with me on stream or just in general, all these documents, all the notes, everything like that, you're gonna have access to all that stuff still. I'm gonna post a link to share, these documents to an editor's capacity, so that things can be contributed to, and these will be living documents we can collaborate on indefinitely, not just so, it's like a one-time thing and then you
I like to make a
throw
religion.
it out. So
if
yeah, we
possible.
can talk about it. Well, we can. I definitely want to workshop that with you because that's things that
Yeah.
I want to do as
I
well.
want to
More
base
building
one
stuff.
around the moon.
Okay. Baka also is really into mythology and gods and goddesses, so we can like
Right. I just want to
organize
loosely
a thing
base
like
it
that.
now and not really attach it to a god or anything yet. Just mostly just the religion mostly being based around the moon and ideology of it.
Yeah, I also like Seluna and Shar from Forgotten Realms, for instance. I think they're really good examples of moon goddesses and that economy of the moon symbolism. So I feel that, but yeah, I also have interests being named Hestia and things like that in mythology. So I'm right there with you. I want to have that conversation with you in a separate world building thing at some point.
Okay.
I would like to include Baka as well because we're actually talking about playing a whole role playing game. He was trying to kind of loosely think about that's based around that kind of idea.
Yeah, I have kind of a peoples that belong to that religion type of thing setting that I want to kind of fit to it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that. But yeah, so I heavily encourage you to do that, Baka, for sure.
I'll write it out
Contribute
now
more
before I
stories as you like.
forget.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll send it to you as a kind of a note idea.
Yeah, I think that hits most of the basics of local folklore, as it were. Though I can almost guarantee you, and this is just as someone who has played gacha games, there's a shitload of superstitions about when, where, and how crack open those damn geodes. Guarantee you.
Okay, sorry, I had to quickly message somebody. Think the headband's Frosty. We got all the notes down.
But yeah, I'm not sure if you heard me, but I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of superstitions about those geodes and how, where, when, and how to open them up to get the best results.
Yes, I heard the tail end of that, but wasn't. I didn't process it properly. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Just as someone who has played gacha games, the sheer amount of friggin' superstitions.
That's a good parallel, actually. You know what? I didn't consider that they were called gotcha geodes. And that kind of is not like, what's it called? It sounds the same as gotcha in gotcha game. That gives me a whole new element to kind of think about it that way. Interesting. Alright, I'm excited about that.
Now I'm just imagining some poor bastard who just keeps rolling the same damn thing in the geodes over and over and over again.
The life of a gold miner. Is this fool's
Just
gold or
some
is this
random
actual gold?
Who keeps accidentally breaking them when mining just has like dozens of these little tiny like. Oh, have you ever seen a Kodama from the Neo games?
No.
And I'll send you a picture of this because this is the only thing I can imagine for what these things would look like. Image. A bunch of what looks like that little thing wandering around behind him, just. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Oh. Yeah. I like that.
Itty bitty earth spirits.
Yeah, and the chipped bull and everything like that. That's cool. That's a lot of cool symbolism in that one image. I like that.
I love those little guys in that game. There's also the Sudamas who wear little skulls. Yeah, that's all I can imagine. Just following this one little miner around, and him just being like, "God damn it, not another one! I have too many of these."
Okay, so now next card, Queen of Diamonds. Diamonds.
Nice little flush you got going there.
I know, right? What is valued in this place? What is it known to have in excess? Okay. I mean, we already kind of have a lot of the question involved there answered.
Yeah, say if it's a major mining town, it probably has an excess of metals and its unique crystals. Like I definitely see it being a place that would export things like iron, copper, tin.
Perhaps
Which
what may
peop-
also be valued is skilled tradesmen.
Okay, yeah, because it's like an industry
Hey.
village, tradesmen
Yeah,
to refine that. Okay.
Say especially if it's got a family like the Lochtons who are we are very good at the job we choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
I could see people coming there just to learn to trade from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Known to have an excess.
Well, to be kind of maybe cheesy, I do want to propose the idea of something more abstract, like community. You know, because like while there is conflict and stuff, there part of what I want to.
You want to say that they have like a closer knit community, like they have a lot of
Yeah, like specifically, like they're like a good
familiarities
example of
in,
like a
excess?
collective collaboration as a village, as opposed to just people living in the same area. Like they
Right.
don't
so then,
always
like,
integrate fully, but they have such a good community that when they need each other, they can call on each other, even in times of need. Even the people who maybe don't cooperate or agree with them, you know,
say like
intrinsically.
they're talking about something, and then the one goes like, "Oh yeah, so and so has that kind of stuff." Then maybe they'd be able to help with that. And they're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember them doing
Right.
something like that the other day."
And
They're just
Yeah.
common knowledge
all
from knowing each other.
hmm
all I can think is it's the kind of place where they will fucking rip into each other every freaking other day. But the moment an outsider tries shit, the entire community's like, nah, that ain't gonna fly. Fuck off. I might be a crotchety old man, but that's my person I get to yell at every day, not yours. Fuck off.
They're like, "They know I don't mean it."
Oh no, they definitely mean it. But everybody's part of the community as it was. Even the most crotchety old hermits in the area will come together if
That reminds me of
it's
the end
called
of
for.
Emperor's New Groove with the old man punching him in the arm.
Yeah, I think.
I need to rewatch that movie.
Hold on, I'm having a moment. This is not related to the question, but this is like Genevieve in my mind originally was kind of a refugee, someone who's escaping a bad situation. I'm wondering if part of the ideals that she fought for in creating this new legacy of the Lochtons with, you know, her husband having the big family that she did, and then renting that over and making a big family, carrying on that legacy. And the legacy is that community aspect, that ideal that, you know, together we are greater than the sum of our parts. And that's what it means to be human, you know, like being complete.
Locked in together,
to a
strong.
degree. Yeah, and so kind of instilling that in the community at large, because they're such good examples of that, and it's hard to argue with them when, you know, it feels right.
I could
or
also
whatever.
see them being a very welcoming community up until someone starts to cause problems.
Yeah,
Where
and so
if you show up and you're like, I need a place, they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
And as long
that's
as you are not the one causing the problem, they won't mind.
right. Yeah, and that goes back to the the multiple people groups and what they're fighting over. The locked-ins being mentioned, and like the people who support the locked-in ideal that we're talking about, the community, the village community aspect that they value so much, is threatened by all this conflict because all those people just don't get it. Like the church kind of does, I think, for sure. I think the church has more understanding of the value of like in the community, just based on their premise. But like the surveyors and the prospectors, the capitalists, the nobles, all fighting for these resources that they're looking to get to, are trying to get through people like the locked-ins who are fighting them at every step of the way because they don't get it. It's not like
they don't
the
want
reason
to see
that they
their home torn to
exist,
shreds.
right? And the reason that their whole like culture and that legacy exists is because they already fled that kind of thing. They already, Genevieve came from that kind of like, this was torn to shreds because of people like this, and now it's kind of repeating the cycle again. And they're like, they're just trying to fight every step of the way and like do what's
They're
right for
sitting
the
there going,
land.
no, not again.
Yeah. So like we've heard about this before. We know how to fight this. This is what we were born to do, literally.
And now all I can imagine is one of them looking over and just going, hippity hoppity, get off my property.
Did we lose him?
We lost Wham.
Hmm?
Let me see if they messaged me. I did not. They might reconnect or something. Oh, I forgot. I have my
They got moved down for
the
inactivity.
AFK activity. Yeah. I forgot about that. I'll drag them back in. For now, we should be okay. World found them. Okay. I'm pretty happy with just that as the answer, and expanding on that later. Nix, your last card, please.
Sure. Let's see. Queen of Hearts. I like the Queen of Hearts. I usually like that one when playing with cards whenever I see it.
Oh yeah.
Who or what person landmark society has been in this place the longest? How did they come to be here? I
mean, the thing that's probably been here the longest is
can I
the Divine
interject something?
Beast. Yeah.
What was your question, Nix?
I was saying I wanted to try to see if I could interject something.
Yeah, this is your question and answer, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm just pitching it because I'm not sure how it would fit. If it doesn't feel like it would fit, then feel free to just try to, adjust it to how it would sound better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go for it.
Let me type this first. I don't think I would be able to say it very well without typing it.
Okay.
But feel free to also come up with something. got it here.
Yeah.
So I was thinking,
Hi.
because we were talking about the
Hey, welcome back.
weather. Yeah. Because we were talking about the weather being kind of anomalous, and there being like blizzards and that are warm-blooded and other kind of creatures that are kind of unique, and it's not the typical. I want to say there was a giant tree in a kind of a middle of an open field that's been there for like millennia, and that somehow became sentient, but can only be understood by a fae. And it just all it does is just relatively just discusses things with the fae about just general changes that have happened over the millennia. He's just kind
Okay,
of bored.
so my first initial relation to this idea is Deku Tree, like the Deku Tree kind of situation, or whatever it's called. The one from Ocarina of Time, the big one, talks. You can go inside of it and stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah,
a giant
I haven't played
kind
Ocarina
of
of Time,
like
but I
forest
heard of
spirit.
it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
very
Deku
reminiscent of that. I do like the concept though, some kind of like Pocahontas style, like nature spirit, like the one tree you can like really interface with. I'll recap with
And I'm
you
just
also,
imagining
Gwam,
Treebeard.
about you missed here in a few minutes. Go over this question.
What was this?
I'll
Oh,
go
what's
over
been
with
there the
you,
longest? Yeah.
missed, while you were gone.
I forgot about that thing because I never played it. I just remember
Yeah.
watching memes of it.
Mm-hmm.
Of people just spamming the button.
Mm-hmm. And I did mention very early on a thought of something by the lakeside, a ruin or not like
Ruin. Yeah,
not like a recent ruin, but like something that's buried, like thousands of
different
years
time.
old, just an old city.
Yeah, different, like an older civilization, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, maybe not
remnants.
something that has any remaining magic or anything, but just something that still has relics. Something that's nearly faded.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then that kind of ties into that actually.
Yeah.
The forest spirit may have, record due to it being like kind of a living history kind of thing, like a living oral history. Being
Mhm.
like,
Yes,
it can
maybe
talk
it
about
was
that
a
ancient
young
civilization a little bit. Yeah, it could have been born around the same time. That's why it came to be, and so it grew to sentience with the ancient civilization that then died off, and it can kind of tell that same story to people that know how to like hear it or translate.
And I'm sorry, all I can imagine it talking is incredibly slowly because of the friggin'
Mhm.
ents of
Yeah.
anything worth saying is worth taking the time to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh heck no. That's not what I pictured. I pictured it talking in it just with the fae, just as a normal being, kind of like a old chap.
Mm.
I'm
Like an
also
old
just
man.
imagining for anyone who can't understand it, it just talks all the shit at them. Because let's be real, old people are crotchety.
Yeah.
Crotchety old spirit.
Back in my millennia,
I had a
this is
fun, silly
Go ahead.
idea that
Okay.
was not at all related to the local stuff, so I could talk
Mhm.
about it later. But while I was away, I had a silly idea.
Okay, if you want, go ahead
We
and
can
add
talk
that
about it
to the ground itself chat above, so
Okay.
it's kind of there to we can all see it and
Okay.
talk about it another time. Yeah. That's kind of what you missed that while you were away. We kind of agreed that was gonna be like our general notes thing. I'm gonna also share this document in there, and no one that's part of that's gonna be kicked out at any point later on. That meme you sent me, Gwam, so good. To Sarah. Message. Someone calling himself the High Wizard phoned. Says you have broken your sacred oath and must pay the ultimate price. No need to call him back. I love the implication there. The person that took this message to her was like, oh, okay. Should she call you back? No.
No.
So good.
I've delivered my message.
She knows what happens next. It's so good. Alright, so sorry, again, next, this being your question, do you have anything you want to add to this or alter as far as your final answer?
I'm
sorry, what was that?
With this being your turn, do you want to add or alter anything for this two-line answer before we move on? Deku Tree style forest spirit / tree acts as a living history of the land. Is an old man. Very much an old man. Maybe house energy. And then that kind of ties into a subcategory that is the lakeside ruins of an ancient civilization.
Yeah, I also like
that
the
you mentioned
fact
before.
that he has sort of a role of an oral historian.
Yeah, that was what kind of came to mind for me. Instead of it just being like a guiding spirit, I don't really think it would really take that much of a role as a tree like that. But it makes sense that if it's going to be around that long, that it would just kind of be an oral history. I like that. I like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're okay with that.
I would imagine that he likes conversation and is, really good at making note of things.
Yeah.
And now I'm just imagining him zapping people into talking to him for hours on end.
Yeah.
A very cunning linguist.
God damn it.
Okay, and then Gwam, if you want to go ahead and play both of your cards, we'll do the first one and then do your next one and then end on Baka's turn.
Okay. Jack of clubs. And second, king of clubs.
Okay, so Jack of clubs first.
What was this place in class? How long ago was that?
Okay. What do you think, Gwam? It kind of ties back into your thing about the ruins. How would you answer that question regarding your input on that?
The Jack of clubs one?
Yeah. What was this place in the past? How long ago was that?
Like, I'm thinking, like, several thousand years. Like, Pyramid Age.
So like 2,000
2,000.
years?
3,000, 4,000 years ago.
Okay. 2, 4...
And long enough that even the ancient magics of the place have no power left. Even their deepest, most powerful spells are all but dead. And long enough that really all the treasures have long been looted, and all that remains is the anthropological interest and the mythos.
What would you say definitively, like, this place was, like, this area, and what makes maybe that ties into how it was? We kept calling it special in a way, like unique to everything else, like something. There's a certain something about the area.
Well, it's certainly not like wood huts. Those would have no relic remains left.
Right.
It's something. It's something bigger. Maybe something that's partially under the lake bed. An old structure of some kind. An ancient temple, or a theater, or a coliseum, or a henge.
I think leaving ancient temple as a placeholder kind of covers all of those by possibility, depending on what kind of race or what kind of civilization we're talking about and the religion they had.
Yeah, what kind of temple it was.
Yeah, because it could be a temple that is a coliseum or is a theater. You know what I mean?
Or
So
palace.
I like that. I like that idea. Or a palace. I like that idea.
Or a tomb.
Yeah, and it's possible that if it's a big temple like that and it goes deep enough to be underwater and has that kind of stuff, then you're looking at some kind of like really big, important, probably like really crazily handcrafted, ahead of its time kind of stuff. Like,
Yes.
yeah, the way we kind of envision Atlantis in a way, almost, I guess.
Well, I'm assuming the lake wasn't there at the time.
That remind me of Dwarf Fortress. Yeah.
Yeah.
They hit something deep and then they shouldn't have.
Good point.
It's just buried.
God damn
Maybe
it,
it
did they
was
actually
further up
Project
in the
Fuck the World?
mountains, yes, maybe it was further up in the mountains and was pushed down by some bizarre magical type glaciation.
Dee like, I better bury this.
Hey, as long as it's not named boat murder.
Okay, before we go to your next question, Gwen, the things that were missed, I think you just said this one while you were here. You missed like these, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the Queen of Spades was, what is the greatest tragedy in this place's past? How is it remembered? What we said basically was that there was a big fire started by a lightning strike hitting a magical crystal that resulted in great destruction of the village, which the Lochtons had a big hand in rebuilding. This also revealed a way to get more of the deposit of the crystal and also increase the power and therefore value of the crystals mined there. And so that was like, that's tied into how it's remembered based on, you know, it was a really unfortunate thing that people and buildings were lost. However, it brought the community stronger together. The Lochtons were a big part of that, and they valued
the discovery of this thing.
Yeah, like the Lochtons are partially remembered for their contribution to that, and also the crystals being so valuable and being revealed that way and being kind of discovered for their power when energy is applied, so to speak. Like Bacchus said, it's kind of like dynamite, almost. Those things are all far more valuable, even though there's the notion of the tragedy. King of Hearts was what stories are told and about this place. Legends, myths. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but some of the ideas we had that will probably be expanded on indefinitely. You know, like stories and myths are in worlds like this. But like creatures, like some of the creatures that can be fed different things that can make them some like kind of different or altered variation for some amount of time. the full moon phase of like the bad moon summoning a fae of some kind that could be malicious in some ways, depending on who you ask. Like things are just different here. Like even though the stories about how there's something unique about this location specifically that is just abnormal even to the context of other magical surroundings and like other parts of the region and kingdoms and stuff. And one of the examples of like some discourse between is this real or fake story, kind of like home medicine and old wives' tales and stuff, but like the goat horns here have medicinal uses, like the goats we mentioned before, like the mountainous side. My shaved goat horn is like some kind of medical use, and it's like
with their scoop horns that they try to pry off the lizards with.
Yeah, people say it heals this or that. And there's contention of like, no, it doesn't. That's fake. That's not been proven or whatever. And then lots of superstitions in relation to the gacha geodes, which when we mentioned this, and people saying like, if you do this or that, you'll get a better chance of getting a geode, which made me fucking kind of put it in perspective for me that gacha rhymes with gotcha. Like I had meant the other kind of gotcha, like surprise gotcha. I didn't actually put it together until then. It was also gotcha. So
yeah.
So I really like that. No, I stumbled into that by mistake.
I'm thinking
as is very typical.
They could be something that's less direct than like grinding them up or whatever. Because there's, I was thinking they were like scoop shape and curl very far back so they could try to pry the lizards off their backs.
I could see people using them for like removing things that get like stuck in you. Using a horn would make it more likely to heal correctly as opposed to using your hand.
Or turning them into tools. So if you use one as a hoe, your herbs that you farm with your goat horn hoe are more effective. Or maybe there's a superstition that if you dig with the goat horn shovel, you're more likely to find things.
Find things of value. Or even using them as like a noisemaker to drive lizards away.
Maybe the second one is probably more of a superstition.
Yeah, but this area is good to note. Also uses tools like, if you were to use as a hoe, it's better than a regular hoe. If you use it as a shovel, you have better luck to find treasure. Stuff like that. That's great. I love that area.
Yeah, and it's just a relic. The superstition is just a relic of the ancient culture that lived in the area because they were using...
Likely had the same animals?
Yes, they weren't using metal tools. They were using... So it's just like an old tradition to use those that has somehow persisted, but has turned into a superstition instead of...
So this is almost kind of hitting almost a Native American equivalent thing of like, our current times don't understand why we use, like people around us don't always understand why we use these body parts of these animals these ways. To not waste, I guess, would be a good explanation. And because of it kind of transmutes over time into, well, this is why we do it, to encourage people to do it. I like that. I like that a lot. That kind of idea. There's a lot of stuff to explore in the background of that parallel. So I don't want to get into that right now, but that's interesting.
If you let me go, I will come up with hundreds of superstitions.
Yeah, exactly. By the... Okay. And then Queen of Diamonds was what is valued in this place, what does it have in excess, and my answer, because this was my turn, was community. The ideal that the community itself shares, that together they are greater than the sum of their parts. Kind of collective ideal, and also, in addition to that, fighting to preserve that community, and that's mostly because of the locked-in legacy that exists, because Genevieve learned to value community more and fight for it harder when she had to flee her situation because of the same thing happening, where, you know, we talked about the different groups fighting over like the resources and this and that, tearing apart the community, or like, you know, that could be a threat to that community and stuff like that. And so the Locked-ins know this based on their history and the legacy that Genevieve left and why she did what she did, and are fighting. That's kind of one of the themes of the world at large, is kind of fighting to preserve the community from that external like aspects of corruption and stuff that could tear them apart otherwise, so that the community can continue to thrive and stuff instead of being hollowed out, so to speak. So lots of stuff to explore there, and then that's when you came back, was talking about the Queen of Hearts forced oral history, etc. Anyway, if there's nothing you want to add or anything like that to any of this stuff, if you're good with all of that, then go ahead and move on to your next card. King of Clubs, right? King of Clubs was, if there are inhabitants, what are the visions for the future that they hold? Is it a long view or a short one?
Yes, are they trying to maintain their way of life? Are they trying to protect their way of life in the landscape? Are they traditionalists or are they progressive? Are they trying to interact with the rest of the kingdom in a large, meaningful way, or are they focused on their local?
I think there's kind of a question of how far that collectivism goes, because they know and are currently fighting, you know, against outside sources with each other. You know, they're fighting against it together. It makes me believe that they're more focused on that local community, the village itself, like the people of the village show up for the village and what's best for that, regardless of whether they always belong, kind of thing. But I do wonder if that also can apply to the greater, you know, kingdom at large, if it's them as an exception in that way, or if that's not too uncommon. I guess it would have to be kind of uncommon for it to be a specifically excessive valued commodity of their community.
It might be something that used to be more common in the wider kingdom, but has become more and more rare as time has gone on.
So they're kind of fighting to be the example, I guess, might be one of their things. Like they're trying to, you know, keep Bash as the bastion of like the good old days in a way, but not being foolish enough to say like things don't change for a reason to some degree, but kind of calling back to get
trying to
more
keep
on
the
a more
good parts of
reasonable
tradition
path.
while still walking forward.
Yeah, I think that sums up a good answer. The note here. Balancing parts of old traditions and ideals. Okay. I think that's a really good insight to kind of play with. Is there anything else you want to add, Gwam? Any other perspectives you want to explore in that regard, as far as the views of the
I'm
future? 'Cause-
thinking, is there anything in the kingdom or any practice in the region that the local community has reason to want to overturn?
Is there any what? What was the
Is there any
word?
practice in the kingdom
Practice.
or in the that the local community would have a reason to want to overturn?
Hmm. Let me see.
Maybe they feel their land is being taken advantage of. Maybe by outsiders. Maybe maybe there's, because of the gold rush type thing, there's too many people coming in that are ignoring their traditions. Maybe the place is growing quickly. Maybe they like that it's growing quickly. Are the conservative people who want to maintain those traditions more influential than the people who are trying to encourage people to move to their town to incorporate themselves into the greater kingdom as a economic powerhouse? Are they too distant from a larger city? Is a larger city like encroaching on them?
Yeah, that kind of ties into the noble,
Yeah.
nobility problem we talked about earlier.
Mm.
So I think this is what you're getting at is best summed up as kind of counteracting the actions of the enemies of what they're fighting for.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and are the traditions they're trying to preserve bad, maybe?
I mean the ones like the big parts of the traditions and stuff, like there's some kind of conflict in there where some people don't agree that those parts are worth keeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe, like I said, digging too much, pulling too much from the ground is like screwing up their groundwater or hurting the local spirits. Or screwing up the environment for local animals. Maybe the spirits
just
are why
possibly
the gotcha
encroaching on-
stones are forming so many malevolent entities.
Could be its defense mechanism,
Mm-hmm. And not
or it could just be because
a
people are
relic
being.
of the god's blood, but a defense mechanism from the spirits rather than anything relating to the god.
Okay. Gotcha. See, I do enjoy that kind of take on it, though, that you're mentioning the negative aspect, because part of the implication for me of community that's being established here is that there is a good bit of conflict, but they handle it really well. There's no one that really is ready to like walk away or like leave the village over it because they have to work together to live.
Mhm.
But they have established, good ways to communicate their issues and stuff to work it out anyway. Okay. You have anything you want to add here, Wham? Any other things? Just no. Good.
I think that's good.
Great. That brings us back to Baka, please, whenever you're ready.
Jack of Diamonds.
Okay.
Oh, great. I get the thing I'm worse at, naming a place.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. Great. Love that. This is the moment we've been waiting for, and we saved the best for last.
What the hell do they call this place?
Such a good question, and I'm here for the answer.
The Godstones, the God Steps.
I like that as maybe like something that people call it, but not the actual name.
I can see that being the name of the region.
Yeah. Because of the nature of like all the biomes kind of
What
clashing.
happened there?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. 1 second. Why I just noted this down.
I'm
named
fucking
it for a
terrible at
reason.
naming things.
Since the question
Okay,
just
let's try to
specifically
figure-
asked for what reason, the God Steps, I'm curious. Do we have any reason why they would call them the God Steps?
Well, one, because this place has a ton of different biomes in like one little area. It almost looks like something a god made to experiment with. And two, more than likely with the mountains, it kind of looks like a set of almost stairs. How they slowly rise up into the sky. As to who named it, I have no idea. As for the village itself,
I don't have a good idea on that.
yeah, I'm terrible at naming places. Because most of the ones I think of immediately, I'm like, no, I can't use that. Doesn't make any sense for the area. Because they're like all coastal
Block.
names.
And I'm thinking of what's maybe another family name that exists in the area. Oftentimes, places are named for local families, founding
Or families are named after the local place.
or they're named for the main industry, or they're named for the primary
Export.
geographical feature. So if they're settled next to the lake, could be something like the name of the lake. And the name of the lake might have to do with the ruins.
Archaeus. Because it started off
Archaeus.
originally as an archaeology town before the disaster.
I think it's too Latin.
There's merit to it though.
Possibly.
I do like where your head's at with that. Let's say
Gotta
Archaeos
get the old gray
as a
matter.
working name.
It also kind of works for the sheer amount of chaos that's in the area.
Would have been named by settlers, working class people.
Yeah.
True.
Which that brings me to what I was going to suggest. Which
Actually, Archaeos might be the name of the ruin.
Old Stone.
Old Stone. Okay. Give me a second there.
Old Stone
ruins.
Village in the middle of the God Steppes, populated by the Lockharts and friends and enemies.
A few crazy old hermits who just like people to get out their lawn. Look at
Okay.
your damn tree.
So I want to. I like that, but I want to pitch this first before we write down the name of the town. I was thinking, because the Locked-In, one thing you might have noticed, but I didn't say about the Locked-Ins, is they have a naming convention for each generation.
I did.
Genevieve and Callum obviously started this by naming all of their children after birds of some kind. And this includes, if someone marries into the family, they now get a Locked-In name. That doesn't mean they have to change their name legally, but it is what the Locked-Ins are going to call them as a Locked-In. That is your name now. Doesn't matter.
I see.
So then
As far as the
their
family
children,
concerned, that is your name.
yeah, and so that's how you're remembered in the family history. Now, to that same end, their children are also named by a convention like that as well. And so this generation above our current generation is named after minerals and gems, and then flowers and trees below them. Now, with that being the case, I think that you're correct that the settlers who originally settled this village would have named it. Sure, absolutely. But to tie it into kind of the metaphor of bringing it full circle, I also had a vision when we talked about like what the location of the village looks like, not just the surrounding area, but like in the village. And I imagined, because of an old experience I had writing with the Locked-Ins, there was, and the village that was in the world for them was adjacent to this big, huge, beautiful flower field. Like, field of just like really beautiful flowers. And I don't remember which kind of flowers they were. I'd like to make up, our own or whatever. But that's kind of why Amarillo, Texas is named Amarillo, because like the grass is tinted just a little bit yellow because of the way the sun hits it and the color it is. And they named it that originally. Like, I'm thinking kind of along that line, and then tying it all together, like, ties into the Locked-In naming convention a little bit, with the current generation being also named after flowers and stuff. Does that inspire anything, anybody, as far as like a name for that though?
Name for the town.
Well, something related to it, like why. Like, what would they call it if they were trying to name it something that complements the flower field, not the flower field itself necessarily? Also, Nick, are you still there? You good?
Something. Oh my gosh. Pallet Town.
Pallet Town.
But like a painting, not a
painting.
We wouldn't want to do Pallet Town, obviously. But
what is maybe panorama?
Panorama.
Something like that. Something in that area. There's gotta be something more village-esque.
Vista. Old Vista Village. Vista Town.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's fairly old area. It's likely been inhabited by more than one group of people.
Hmm.
From Latin videre.
Yeah. Something in pan I'm liking. Panorama. I don't want panorama, but something with that a prefix. Because I'm also that's echoing Panharmonicon for me, which is a magic card, but it by itself resembles community in a way. So I'm kind of like zoning in on that. Village of Pantheon, maybe. No.
Well, there is the god. Mosaic.
Mosaic? Yeah. Okay.
I can
Yeah,
actually
I
see
kind
that
of like
working
that.
really well for a town name.
Mosaic. Village of Mosaic. Mosaic Village.
On top of that, there's probably a lot of different building styles inside the town because of how many immigrants there's been. Just like a mosaic of styles. This has been way more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I will admit, even though I really like this game, and my experiences with it have been incredible so far, it's always been one-on-one, so I was not sure 100% if this would be fun for everybody, but I'm having a great time. This is honestly very, very like fulfilling for me.
I mean, you know me, I say I'm a slut for world building.
I love to say words, mean things. Same. So true. I'm right there with you, man. I haven't really taken a crack at world building like this, but this is
definitely a unique way to do it.
Yeah.
It's a helpful way to do it.
It's a good question. It's important questions that you wouldn't maybe ask unless you were prompted to do so. It's like filling out a guided, like, frequently asked questions about a world.
Yeah. I haven't had this much success world building, except for when people have been asking, like, hey, I'm trying to write this story and I'm trying to figure out justification to include my fetish. How do I do that?
See, I'm not subtle when I want to include my fetishes. I just fucking throw them in there, just full, just cram. But again, most of my writings don't involve fetishes, for the most part.
But when they do, boy,
I have a
howdy.
pen name for that. I have a pen name for that. I'm trying to get some of that published.
Nice.
Amen.
If it does get published, I will send you a link.
Hell yeah. Love to see it. Yeah. Mosaic. I gotta do some wordplay here. There's gotta be some kind of something.
All my brain keeps going
we're
to
right
is
on the cusp.
Montenegro.
I definitely can't. I know why you said that, but I can't go with that based on implications. I hate to say that, but
Like the actual city of Montenegro is the first thing that keeps popping into my head. I'm like, no, we can't use that. That's an actual city.
Yeah, and just the spelling of it and stuff.
Yeah, the spelling
know.
it's kind of
Yeah.
it's a little Spanish.
It's.
I mean, am I
I know
wrong?
I know it's the literal meaning you're saying. Like, I get I get why you're saying that, but just that being the answer to what I was implying is so funny. Oh, it's so funny.
The slur came from the English adopting a Spanish word.
Yeah, which is even better. Okay. All right. Ooh. Okay, so yeah, here's why I liked the idea here. Pan means all or of everything, or importantly, involving all members. So I wonder if we can smash in mosaic here in some way. Give me the etymology. Late Middle English, Old French mosaic, from medieval Latin mosaicus. Mosaicus, based on Latin museum, decoration with small square stones. Perhaps ultimately from Greek mousa, a muse.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you go back far enough, you get into the Greek version of it, which is interesting.
Gonna be characterized in some way, stylized a little bit to that. Pan mosaic. I like the implication of like something like Pan Mosaic Village, but I feel like village almost doesn't suit that name. You know, like
I think mosaic is humble enough.
Yeah.
And even panorama is humble enough. But just having a plain word for the village name is... I mean, that's typically what village names start out as, and if it's a young village, then it might still be a plain word. And typically, when the word is not plain, it's because the village name has stayed where it is while the language aged on.
Okay. You know what? I think panorama might actually do it. An unbroken view of the whole region surrounding an observer. Unbroken being a keyword there. That sells me. Okay. I think panorama is it. Anyone opposed?
Nope. And all I can imagine is the views from that village must be fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Like a sunrise? Oh my god.
I'm gonna call it a town instead of a village. Kind of upgrade it a little bit.
I think it would probably qualify as a town at this point.
I agree.
Heck, give it a couple of decades, it could probably qualify as a city.
If it has enough to train a paladin.
Yeah, that's also true. That's a really good point, because I think panorama is going to have to include this a really good part of this church, like a big location for it. Maybe not the headquarters specifically, but a specifically good base for the
It would likely be
temple.
like a holy order would be based.
Yeah.
Like a monastery.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Man, this slaps. This is fire, y'all. We haven't even like actually extrapolated on any of this
Into the nitty gritty yet.
Yeah, we're
Unfortunately,
we're literally just starting.
I have to go.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have to go shortly. So.
Well, so real quick to address that problem, would we prefer that? I don't know if Nyx is actually here. I don't know if she fell asleep, or what happened. I messaged her to see if she was okay, but she might be busy.
We've been at this for almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at too. Is do we want to call it here for now and come back and do the rest of that another time?
I'd be down.
Okay, y'all want to do next Tuesday, same time maybe? Does that work?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Then the following Tuesday is my birthday. So we wouldn't do it then, but you know.
Soon.
Yes, soon. Very soon.
My birthday is next Sunday.
It's your birthday.
Your birthday's close too, hell yeah. So many celebrations. So many people to celebrate.
How many birthdays?
Or not next Sunday. My birthday is a month from next Sunday.
Oh, close enough. Still. Glad you brought it up.
Time is taken.
I'm
Still
so
closer than
you.
mine. Mine's
Mm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 months away.
Dang.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, December, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Man. I'm so excited to get more into this. I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
share.
Making good progress.
Big progress too. Hell yeah.
And
Link
once we get into the
be-
nitty gritty of it, it's gonna get crazy.
Okay, so I'm gonna post this to the Garnet Self Chat here, and that link. If you don't share this out of this channel, whoever has access should be able to join it. But if you click on that, you'll have access to comment on things. You can't directly edit them, but you can highlight and comment on this or that, add side notes that can be later approved by me or the rest of us in general. So if you have anything you want to add
Yeah,
from
throw
what we
ideas
iron
in.
out, yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Any kind of note, any kind of like, I thought about this and like wanted to extrapolate on this more, go for it. You have access to do that. You won't have no harm in that. With that done though, I mean, I'm stoked about this. If we're gonna do more of this, finish this session that we agreed on next Tuesday, then I will put it on the schedule next week and be excited for that. Until then, not really much planned. I've got so much going on that I haven't even been able to talk about with everybody because I've been so busy doing that stuff, like enjoying all the new stuff happening, lots of different crazy events and chaos, planning for my birthday, losing a friend today, so much different chaos. It's just been all over the place. So, we're going places, but not without struggling a little bit. So we go ahead and shut this down. Remove this. Get out of here. What's next? Yeah, okay, I'm sure. Main browser.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Baka. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for doing this. I look forward to our next session. See you next time.
I had fun with y'all.
Yeah, Graham, thanks for participating.
I was super looking forward to this all day. Did not disappoint.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree. I was a little kind of panicking about how to get things organized and set up when we started, but I'm glad it worked out and we hit our stride. On that note, I'm gonna go ahead and get over. I think let me see if my friend Aphasia is still streaming, and we'll raid him. He is. He's playing Helldivers, no less. All right.
Remember, everybody plays mouse and keyboard, so like the one thing I can't help with is controller stuff.
I'm just gonna try to play keyboard, even though I didn't train this way.
No, it's fine. You can use your controller. We're gonna try again.
Okay.
Playing with Julie Moonstaff. I think I have a thing here that is
the
like
drop
this.
point, or did I pick it for you?
Yeah, Fox Raid. You want to copy and paste that? You're welcome to. You don't have to. But, whatever.
You're on the
Anyway,
screen that's-
you guys have a good night.
you're
I'll
set
see you
up
next
now.
time. Much more to come. We'll be talking a lot more soon. Lots of big changes. Super excited for the new era.
And Moonstaff,
Much
the
love.
picture was
And good
both.
night.
What's on your screen?
Now it does. Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
So now you should be able to pick
Okay.